this video, I'm going to talk about A Course in Miracles. What it is, what my relationship with it is, why it even matters. So, Course in Miracles is kind of weird. It's really weird if you think about it. But also, if you open your mind, it's not weird at all. It makes perfect sense. So, in the beginning of the book, this book has, this is tricky, preface, text, workbook for students, manual for teachers. By the way, we're all teachers, right? Clarification of terms, that's handy. Supplements. Okay, so in the preface, it talks about how this book came about. And it's kind of a crazy story, which is kind of fun, but also weird. So, in the, let's see, like 1970-ish, maybe a little before, maybe a little after, this woman, Helen Schucman and William Thetford. Helen Schucman was a psychologist lady. She was a professor of medical psychology at Columbia's University, College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York City. So prominent and respected and knows about the brain. So she starts getting these, like, this voice in her head telling her things. And it freaked her out a little bit. She's just like thinking, am I going crazy? Am I schizophrenic? She starts kind of self-diagnosing. But the things that the voice was telling her were so profound and incredible that she started writing it down. So she wrote down all of these, I don't know, they're not really stories, just all of this information that was given to her. And eventually the voice identified itself, and here's the part that gets crazier for some people. The voice identified itself as Jesus. And kind of like he wanted to give us some text that was more accurate to what he was trying to teach back in the day that got butchered. The Bible does have stuff that's good and helpful, but it also, I mean, if you look at the history of it, it was chopped up and it's not in its entirety anymore. So this is kind of making that right. Our friend Helen, she was resistant, as anyone would be, as I am about this. I mean, this is kind of crazy, and I didn't want to be associated with this crazy stuff. Hi, Ranger. The dog just came in. So anyway, this book is incredible. The text has over 600 pages of information, and then the workbook, which is really neat, has one meditation or lesson for every day of 1 year. And it has a rule. You can work at your pace, but you cannot do more than one lesson a day. So the workbook is supposed to take you at the minimum 1 year. I picked this book up almost 2 years ago, and I worked on it. It was like, whoa, I felt I was just discovering something incredible, and it was like I knew it all already, but it was like waking up inside of me reading this. And so I was reading through it and working on the workbook, and then somewhere along the line I just wasn't, I don't know, I was just like over it for a little bit, and I put it down, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, was just like, meh, no more. And then somewhere along the way, I was like, I want to pick that book up again. I want to work on it again. And so I started working on it. And now, let's see, I've had it almost 2 years, and I'm on lesson 163. So I'm going at my pace, which is very slow. Sometimes it, you know, some days I don't do the workbook. You go on vacation and you're just like, I don't want to do it. I want to sleep in and then just chill. that's okay, you know, whatever. I will say when I go too long without doing it and without working through the workbook, or at least having just some sort of quiet meditation time to connect with, you can call it your inner self, you can call it the source, with Christ, with whatever. Call it what you will. When I don't do that for a long period of time, it gets muddy and junk starts coming back. But the good news is you can always step right back in. No big deal. That's what A Course in Miracles is. I highly recommend getting the book. Some of it's pretty dense. It took me a while of reading the text to get through to a point where it made any kind of sense to me. And even still, I'll read it and go, what? And that's okay. Whatever. Just trust that somewhere in your subconscious, connections are being made, and epiphanies will come when you're ready, when your mind is ready. So, I'm very excited about this journey we're going on together. I hope you will join me. I hope you will gain some kind of wonderful insight that you didn't have before, and that we can become internet buddies that share our epiphanies and grow together. So, that's all I have to say.